The trail is a metaphor for change. Although hiking, and specifically endurance hiking, is now a big part of my day-to-day, it's not just about exercise. It's about transformation. Each step is a movement towards clarity, purpose, and identity. But movement is one thing, sharing insights gained is another. As a U.S. Marine veteran, I created this space to help other veterans gain clarity, purpose, and identity. Let's walk this path together. This is Trail to Transformation. Hey, welcome everybody. Of course, my name is Dr. Keith McNally. Welcome to the show. Suzanne, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I'm very, very well.
Well, I appreciate that. So, we've had conversations for quite some time now, and I wanted to start this show very specifically, and then I changed my mind. So, I wanted so I want to start it in a different way, only because there's a lot of things going on in my life. One, of course, being the Appalachian Trail coming up, and I wanted to talk about fear and what it means to be afraid. Are you willing to have that conversation with me?
Yeah, I think with your, very nearly approaching heading out to the trail and the beautiful piece you wrote about fear and what we're seeing just happening around us in the collective, I actually think what we're seeing in action is fear. So I'm very, very excited to having this conversation in this moment. I think it's so, so important to talk about.
Well, I appreciate that. So, let's kind of give everybody who's watching an idea of what I've been going through and then what do I intend to accomplish. And so, as a U.S. Marine veteran, I've attempted to take my own life 5 times. We met through my healing process because, as somebody who has made the attempt, you are actually on the other side of that conversation because your son did die in that way. And so we will tackle that conversation partly in this conversation, but in other conversations as well. But as part of my healing process, I need to learn how to face that. All of the things that are going on in my life and how they impact me tend to freeze me up. I actually feel afraid more often than I like to admit. And that always causes me a lot of trouble. So, because of all that, I wanted to do things differently, find new friends, approach life with a different mindset. Let's have that conversation. How do you think fear really does impact us on a day to day basis?
So I heard this idea many, many years ago. I think it's from A Course of Miracles. And the idea is that there are only two ways of being, and one is based on fear, and the other is based on love. So since then, I have played with that idea so much. So when I think about fear, I see it play out almost every way in our life, right? Every moment we have a hesitation, or every moment we're thinking, I'm not enough, or every moment we're thinking, I don't think I should try that, or we're othering somebody. We're thinking, oh, I'm scared of that person or that type of person, that, pick a category of person. That's when we're operating out of fear. And that is the isolator to me. I see this playing out so clearly. It's what isolates us from each other. So that's why it's so beautiful to me that when you realize that's what was going on, you made these intentional decisions. And that's where I think in this paradigm that I live in, that you're living from love. So you're going, okay, wait, when I'm in these circumstances with these people, I feel fearful and I don't want that anymore. I don't choose that anymore. I'm going to choose something different. So what that means is I need to find some new people that are maybe operating in a different way. And that in itself is scary because comfort can feel like safety, even when it's not. So it's such a fascinating topic, and I think what's really powerful about what you're doing in this moment as you prepare for the trail is you're being very intentional about watching for it and finding those fears and naming them, right? What about being all by myself? What about being in the dark? I was so struck by that idea. I had, in all the conversations we had about you going on the trail, I had not thought about I'm laying in the woods by myself with your amazing dog in the dark. And it's a dark, dark. It's not like a city person dark. It's like really dark. But when we can find those fears and find the specificity of them, like you're doing, it's such a powerful exercise. Then we can name them, make a decision about how we're going to respond when they happen, because we know fear will happen. Fear is part of what keeps us safe, right? It's that nervous system response that keeps us safe.
Mm.
Right now, our nervous systems are stuck in that mode, right? We're a little bit, as a collective, stuck in fight, flight, or freeze. We need much more parasympathetic action that will bring us out of safety mode, except if you're through hiking the Appalachian Trail, in which case I, absolutely 100% support you in feeling into the fight, flight, or freeze impulses and following them, because, there's a way different level of actual risk, right? But we're living as if we're in actual risk all the time. And for most of us, that's not the case.
So true. And so, kind of give context here. Um, I began owning my fear. So, one of the things I wanted to be able to do was heal from it, but I
Mhm.
didn't even know how to talk about it. And to be quite honest, some of the things that I'm afraid of, one that you just mentioned, and we're going to talk about that a bit, I've never, I've told very few people. And so, kind of, let's talk about that real quick. I'm afraid of the dark. I am totally afraid of the dark. And so, what I ended up doing was go to ChatGPT. So, I use OpenAI and I have conversations all the time about different things. And it kind of gives me the opportunity to kind of think about what's going on with me. And so I said, I wanted to lay out the things that are stumbling blocks for me as I approach day one of my Appalachian Trail through hike. One of the things, of course, is can I actually do this? But the
Mhm.
second thing on the list is I'm literally I'm afraid of the dark. And you're exactly right. In backcountry, the only thing above you is the moon and the stars, and that's it. So I really have to figure out how to approach these fears, and maybe I won't overcome them in this first attempt through hiking the Appalachian Trail, but maybe as I work through them each and every day, I'll find a way to manage them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that to me is overcoming. So when you said, I don't know if I'll overcome them, my immediate response is, well, if you make it a week into the trail, never mind the whole way, which I have complete faith you're going to make it the whole way, that's what overcoming those fears looks like. And I think that's a really interesting concept for people to understand. I think the myth is that we will like get over them and I'll never be afraid of the dark again, just because that's the example that's so easy to use for people to understand. But if you were, when you get to the end of the trail and you have overcome that version of fear of the dark, that doesn't mean that there won't be another time when it's dark out and you hear a noise that's scary or activating, that fear isn't reactivated again. So it's not like it goes away forever. It's, as you say, it's that we navigate it and we choose what our response is. And that to me is the critical piece, because you're going to get there on that first night. It's going to be black as pitch. You and Ashley are going to lay down and you're going to think, holy cannoli, this is a dark I didn't even really imagine. And you're going to go to sleep, or you're going to stay awake and you're going to get up and you're going to walk again. And that's how we navigate fear. We just feel, courageous and brave isn't never feeling fear. It's feeling fear and doing it anyway.
Mm. I like that answer, and at the same time, I don't like that answer because Ashley's sitting right over here, And I call her my service dog. She's really my best friend at this point.
Yeah.
I adopted her back in August of 2025, and we have been hiking just about every day. We've been camping, and I don't think she was ever camping before. She's 3 years old. When we went camping, she was afraid of the dark. This was a new experience for her in a tent, not in a house, so in a tent, in a campground, different noises, strange environment, everything that you would expect. And she didn't sleep that night. And so I have that in my head that that's going to be we're going to revisit that. We're going to revisit that night 1, possibly night 2, possibly night 3
Mhm.
going forward. So it's not just about me trying to figure out how I'm going to go to sleep. It's actually how am I going to help her go to sleep so that we could actually wake up the next morning with some level of energy just to hike the next 15 miles, right? And so
Yeah.
I don't even have a plan for that. And that's one of the things that bothers me is I like plans. I'm a Virgo. I like to plan things out, literally every detail moving forward. If I have step 1, step 2, step 3, I'm going to achieve what I intend to achieve. And what I'm finding out in life is those instruction books don't exist.
Yeah. And that's where we get to choose fear or love. And so when you wake up that second morning and you've slept a little bit hopefully and Ashley has slept a little bit hopefully, then we get to choose love, which means we get up and we try it again. We don't get stuck in that fear which says, well, that didn't go well, we should turn around and go home because it's close still. Right? The turn back point isn't that far away. That's the sense of, well, but we did a version of it and tomorrow night will be a different version of it. And if I can stay in curiosity instead of certainty, because there really is no certainty, right? You and I have both learned that in our lived experiences the hard way.
Yeah.
There's no certainty. So if we can stay in curiosity, why did we sleep? Well, we were exhausted. Okay, well, let's exhaust ourselves. Or why did we sleep? Well, we found a comfortable position. Great. We know a comfortable position. We can think through what worked and what didn't work and make a slightly different choice. That's the iterative process of this human experience. I think that's what we're here to do, is to try stuff that maybe feels a little bit scary, because most of the time life is a little bit scary if we're being honest. So if we can try things that are a little bit scary, or in our family when we're doing things that are a little bit scary but we know aren't really scary, like our life is not really at risk, we call it scare sighted. So we're scared and excited at the same time, because I know you're excited to go walk the trail and for what that can mean for you, what it can mean for the foundation, what it can mean for other veterans. So if we can lean into being scare sighted, it's not quite so heavy.
I don't know if I've ever used that term before, but
Oh, you can't because
so to give context to this, back in 2022, I had a heart attack, and of course, before that in 2021, I attempted to take my life for the fifth time, and so those two significant moments in my life really changed everything. And since coming out of the hospital, I had to find a new way of living. So I had to redesign everything. That eventually became, well, not only do I want to redesign everything, I want to give it more purpose, more intention. That became, let's hike the Appalachian Trail. And so this whole phenomenon has been growing, and I'm good at preparing. I am really good
Mhm.
at getting up in the morning, taking her for 12, 13, 14-mile walks, with a rucksack, and then on the weekends pushing that to 20 miles. She's even good at it. My golly.
Yeah.
Um, she shows no sign of slowing down. But as I get closer, those realities, can I really do it? Is my mind, my body my spirit, my emotions, totally ready for this experience? I don't have an answer. I don't know. And then I add, well, I'm afraid of the dark. And then I said, well, one of the other things I'm afraid of is I don't fit in. I've always been in this I've always put myself in this misfit category ever since I was young. So I don't necessarily fit into this group or to that group for whatever reason. And then there's a whole community around hiking the Appalachian Trail. And, I may meet people who are seasoned professionals who do this all the time, or in some way or another do endurance activities. And I'm afraid, literally, they're going to say, you're doing it all wrong because I've been told that before. And that in the past has always caused me to kind of go hide in the corner again. Well, I made another mistake. And there's a whole lot of negative energies associated with that. I don't know what to do with that. And so at this point, it's like, is that really going to happen? I don't know. When I go hiking locally, people ask me because I'm the only person in my neighborhood, carrying a 40-pound rucksack for hours on end. I do get the conversation. You're preparing for something, yeah? Or I go locally to the state park, First Landing State Park. I live here in Virginia, and there are people who go there, mostly runners or dog walkers, but who have done the Appalachian Trail before. And they have nothing but positive things to say, no matter how they prepared, no matter what they expected the experience to be. It has always been rewarding. And the community itself is so supportive, whether you're a first timer or a seasoned, professional. I've done it many times. So I don't know what to expect.
And I think we counter that with, when the what if I can't do it is the story we're hearing,
Mhm.
we need to choose another story, right? So, what if the story is, I am thrilled if I try? All you need to do is try and then keep trying and then try some more and then try again and then try slightly differently and then try the same thing on a different part of the trail, right? If we can change our mindset from achievement being the only positive end goal to effort and trying and consistency and preparation and then giving it a go being our end game, that really shifts the narrative. And I think too, when we're talking about these fear things, they're all stories, they're all made up. None of this is true because it hasn't even happened yet, right? But we get so into, and I think it's a Virgo thing too. I'm a Virgo too. And I 100%, I'm with you. I'm going to do all the preparation I can do. And then I'm going to pre-pick the things I should be scared about so I can figure out what, like, it's a Virgo thing. And it's a very human thing. So there's three magical questions you can ask at all times, right? Is it true? No, because it's a story. Is it real in this moment? No, because you're not on the trail. Is it yours? No, because how other people respond to you on the trail, walking in your training, whatever, none of that's yours. So it's a no, no, no. So then we get to go, well, then I'm going to release that one because that's not serving me in this moment. And that's a practice that we have to do, right? Being observant about, like, when is this a story? When am I just in the spiral of, the itty bitty committee that comes to keep me safe, but doesn't let me do really fun, courageous, bold things? And how much is it really actually real? And I need to respond in this moment. Because most of the time, it's a made up story to keep us safe in circumstances that aren't even happening. And it's neither true nor real nor yours.
The narrative I've been telling myself has been mixed. And so there are days I wake up and I'm fully, as you said, excited about what I'm about to do. There are days I wake up and I'm thinking, this is the dumbest thing you've ever decided that you're going to do. And there's no really there's no reason to do it because I like being in my safe place, and my safe place is my home. I'm totally cool. I'm totally okay with being home all the time. Now that
Mhm.
sounds bad for somebody as old as I am. And I
Mhm.
probably do need to change that narrative as well. But I want to be able to do this. I want to say I did it. You know, people who I've talked to, and regardless if it took 3 months, 6 months, it took them a whole year, there's never this look back and say, you know, I shouldn't have done it, or it took me
Mm.
too long, or it was too expensive, or, you know, I got hurt and I should have stopped there. All those negative things are never in those conversations. It was always whatever the risk was, I'm glad I took the risk because the feeling of accomplishment is so much more overwhelming, or not even a good word, so much more powerful than
Mhm.
all the negative emotions associated with, well, I should have stopped here or shouldn't have done it. So I'm going to ask you, and I know we didn't even plan for this. I need your help. I need your help. Help me change my narrative up here so that when it's actually time to do it, I don't have to think twice.
I think one of the most powerful ways to do that is to really lean into your why, right? And we've heard this from all kinds of things. It's a Simon Sinek concept. Your why, Keith, is so big, right? You're not just doing this for you. You're doing this for you to prove what's possible in this new version of you. You're doing this for awareness around veteran mental health and suicide. You're doing this to support the foundation that you're building. This is not just about you and Ashley walking the trail. That's what's actually going to happen. And no matter what happens, whether you freak out after the first day and run back home, or you make it all the way to the end, which I think is what's going to happen. That's what I'm holding for. Or somewhere in between, the stepping out of your comfort zone and the really putting yourself forward as someone who's modeling a different way that's possible of living your life in the face of so much past trauma and deployments and all of the things. That's the power of what you're doing. And I think that's how you change the narrative. Because if we can get away from, not from an egoistic perspective, but like it all being sort of about you and your experience, that bigger picture can help us to feel bolder. Because if the mission, as I know it is to really create a shift in the world and in how the world works, that starts with you taking that first step on the trail. And everything that you learn, and I don't even know how many million steps it is because that's math my brain doesn't do. But everything that you learn with every one of those steps, with every day that you make it, with every kind person on the trail that accepts you, with every time you make it to the spot to grab your next set of supplies on the day you expect to get there, with every night that you sleep through, even though it's pitch dark and the wind's blowing, so there's noise in the trees, every one of those victories and accomplishments adds up to creating that new narrative. So the way that we actually create those new narratives is through action, because we can't think our way out of the stories because the stories are our thinking. So we're trying to think our way out of thinking. It's not as effective as doing. And I'm a big, as you know, I'm a big proponent of we need to feel the emotions, we need to be in the moment, we need to turn towards it all. And we need to be in action. We need to be taking tiny steps towards whatever is next. You're going to take a bajillion tiny steps towards whoever you are going to be on the other end of that trail.
Suzanne, I'm going to give it a try. And so I
Right?
do. All right. And so I do appreciate this conversation. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up. And we need to stay connected. But before we say goodbye, I want to say thank you. And to everybody else, I'll see you on the trail. Take care. Imagine a world where every veteran finds a reason to keep going. That's the vision behind the Trail to Transformation Foundation. Help us make it real. Donate through the GoFundMe link